Lord, have mercy upon us. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Almighty God, who in thy wisdom and goodness hast appointed the office of rulers and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of men and women, we beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in these islands. Let thy blessing descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of these islands, and those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. And this we beg for Jesus Christ's sake. Amen. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen.
Thank you, Clerk. Members, the House is now in session. Members, the minutes from the 6th and the 9th of March have been circulated. Any amendments required? There are none. The minutes will be confirmed as printed. Messengers from the governor. There are none. Announcements. I have announcement regarding the member MP Famous. It's indicated he'll be absent again today. Messengers from the Senate. There are none. Papers and other communications. There are 2 papers this morning. You do both?
No, I'm doing the
Okay, you do the first one is going to be introduced by the Minister for Cabinet, for the Cabinet Office.
Mr. Speaker, with the governor's recommendation and in accordance with Section 36(3) of the Bermuda Constitution, I have the honor to attach and submit for the consideration of the Honorable House of Assembly the Government Fees Amendment Regulations 2026, proposed to be made by the Minister of Finance in exercise of the powers conferred by Section 2 of the Government Fees Act 1965. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The second is in the name of the Minister of Economy and Labor. Minister?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to attach and submit for the information of the Honorable House of Assembly the Economic Development Strategy 2023-2027 Strategic Priority 2 Business Retention and Investment Promotion 2023 to 2027 update.
Thank you. That's all the papers and communications for this morning. The next item of petitions. There are none. We now move to statements by ministers and junior ministers. We have 4 statements this morning. The first is in the name of the Minister of National Security. Minister?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning, colleagues and the listening public. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to update this Honorable House on Bermuda's continued commitment to support the people of Jamaica following the catastrophic devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. Honorable members will recall that when Hurricane Melissa made landfall on the 28th of October 2025 as a Category 5 storm, it caused widespread destruction across Jamaica. More than 700,000 people were affected. 27 communities were cut off, and more than 200,000 homes were destroyed or severely damaged. Critical infrastructure, including roads, electricity, and water systems, remains degraded as national authorities continue the long process of recovery and rebuilding. Mr. Speaker, in the immediate aftermath of the storm, the Bermuda government made a clear commitment to the government and people of Jamaica that we would provide humanitarian assistance. I am pleased to advise this Honorable House that Bermuda has fulfilled that commitment. Following reconnaissance conducted by the Royal Bermuda Regiment in November and further engagement with the Jamaica Defense Force, Cabinet approved the deployment of up to 27 Royal Bermuda Regiment soldiers to Jamaica from the 15th to the 28th of February, 2026. Mr. Speaker, the regiment was embedded with the Engineer Regiment of the Jamaica Defense Force and also worked alongside the Guyana Defense Force and contingents from the Cayman Islands and Turks and Caicos Islands as part of a coordinated recovery effort. Their primary task was to repair roofs damaged by Hurricane Melissa in the parish of St. Elizabeth, one of the areas most severely impacted by the storm. This work provided immediate, tangible relief to affected families and helped create the conditions necessary for sustained recovery. This deployment was deliberately structured to ensure that Bermuda's contribution was practical, focused, and aligned with Jamaica's identified priorities. The Jamaica Defense Force is leading and coordinating all projects, ensuring that the skills and manpower provided by Bermuda were directed where they were most needed. Mr. Speaker, I wish to note that all soldiers deployed on this mission volunteered to do so. These men and women stepped forward willingly to serve in another country where there is a need for humanitarian aid. They operated in field conditions and met strict pre-deployment requirements, including medical clearance and fitness standards. The regiment was accommodated at Forward Operating Base Luana in St. Elizabeth, with logistical and life support provided by the Jamaica Defense Force to ensure that Bermuda's presence did not place additional strain on local resources. Mr. Speaker, whilst this was a physically demanding deployment for all involved, it provided the opportunity to undertake a focused overseas operational mission. All deployed personnel had the opportunity to apply their existing specialist skills and further develop them through practical experience. The deployment also reinforced the strong relationship that the Royal Bermuda Regiment maintains with the Jamaica Defense Force, and with the additional personnel joining from the Cayman Islands and the Turks and Caicos Islands, the relationship with fellow British overseas territories. Mr. Speaker, the total cost of the 2-week deployment approved by Cabinet was up to $241,385. This included transportation, equipment, supplies, and an operational allowance that reflected the demanding conditions under which our soldiers are serving. Mr. Speaker, along with our National Disaster Coordinator, I visited our soldiers in Jamaica to see their progress firsthand and to witness the impact they were having in Jamaica. His Excellency, the Governor, also joined me on this visit. What I saw, Mr. Speaker, was a Bermuda contingent of eager, professional, and organized soldiers who were making an immense impact on the lives of people in St. Elizabeth Parish. Mr. Speaker, remarkably, our troops were erecting a new roof at a rate of every 2 days, and were doing so with the utmost expertise and palpable enthusiasm. I could see true Bermudian craftsmanship on full display with astounding results. Added to the skill and speed with which our soldiers were working, it was clear to me that their morale was very high and that they were enjoying the opportunity to be of service to their fellow man. All of Bermuda ought to be proud of the efforts of our soldiers on this deployment, as I am. Mr. Speaker, this mission represented more than a deployment. It was a demonstration of solidarity between small island countries that understand the realities of vulnerability to extreme weather events. By working with the Jamaica Defense Force and the contingents from Guyana, the Cayman Islands, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, Bermuda was making a huge statement on the international stage about cooperation and collaboration amongst regional partners in times of distress and need. Mr. Speaker, I invite you to note that a contingent from Ghana and Rwanda were also in Jamaica to provide support in the recovery efforts. Their presence demonstrated a wide-ranging response to Jamaica's plight and brought an even greater international flavor to the recovery efforts. Bermuda understands that disaster recovery does not end when the headlines fade. The transition from emergency response to long-term rebuilding is often the most difficult phase. By deploying skilled and disciplined personnel to Jamaica, Bermuda contributed where the need remains real and where our capabilities could make a measurable difference. Mr. Speaker, I wish to commend the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Duncan Simons, and his team for their preparations and planning to make this deployment a reality. I hasten to especially thank all members of the Royal Bermuda Regiment who volunteered for this deployment. Their willingness to serve beyond our shores reflects the professionalism, discipline, and spirit of service that this honorable House has come to expect from the regiment. I assure this honorable House that the efforts of the Royal Bermuda Regiment are definitely having a lasting impact on St. Elizabeth in particular, and Jamaica in general. Yes. And I am proud that our government facilitated the deployment. Mr. Speaker, not only did our soldiers leave an indelible mark on Jamaica, the same could be said in reverse. Our soldiers left Jamaica with an enormous sense of pride and accomplishment in the knowledge that by the sweat of their brows and by the labor of their limbs, they made a real difference in the lives of Jamaican citizens and having earned their immeasurable respect. I have no doubt that our soldiers will recall their time in Jamaica for years to come and will do so with fondness and pride. Mr. Speaker, the Greek philosopher Aeneas in the 3rd century BC coined the phrase, "A sure friend is known when in difficulty." Otherwise, well known as a friend in need is a friend indeed. So, Mr. Speaker, Bermuda and Jamaica are indeed friends. And in Jamaica's hour of need, we have honored that friendship. Bermuda made a promise to support the people of Jamaica following Melissa's onslaught, and this deployment was the fulfillment of that promise. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement this morning is in the name of the Minister of Home Affairs. Minister?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I rise to update this honorable House on the people of Bermuda on the continued progress being made by the Ministry of Home Affairs to address affordability and the cost of living in Bermuda. Mr. Speaker, let me first remind this honorable House and colleagues that in November 2025, I tabled in this honorable House the Affordable Bermuda Agenda, a cost of living report. It was indeed a reflection of the government's commitment to address the cost of living and presenting to the people of Bermuda the specific actions that the Ministry of Home Affairs would take to reduce cost of living for Bermudian households. Mr. Speaker, as a backdrop, in March 2025, the ministry undertook the collection of data from over 2,200 residents who provided accounts of their experiences purchasing groceries. Many residents reported that the elevated cost of staple foods items was significantly eroding their financial resources, leaving minimal disposable income and, in some cases, insufficient funds for household savings. The ministry also engaged with stakeholders across the industry, notably wholesalers and retailers, who conveyed that attracting new international suppliers to a market of Bermuda's scale presented considerable challenges. Their challenges, as presented to the ministry, was rooted in the fact that U.S. companies often regard Bermuda's import volumes as insignificant to warrant the attention in contrast to other larger jurisdictions, or that they remain unaware of the business opportunities that the Bermudian market offers. Mr. Speaker, the ministry heard and sought to address the supply chain dynamics and the implications of import-related costs that impact the price of goods before they reach the customer. We also heard the recommendations emanating from the Cost of Living Summit and resolved to brainstorm and find effective ways to diversify food sources and to help lower prices at the till. Mr. Speaker, acting directly on the imports pillar of the Affordable Bermuda Agenda, the ministry built a pathway for U.S. suppliers to deepen their engagement in the Bermuda market through partnerships with the U.S. Consul General. At the Bermuda Cost of Living Summit, the U.S. Consul General Hernet Hurtado, took note of our challenges and met with the ministry to offer support. The result was a pledge to provide greater support to Bermudian businesses with expanded market opportunities and introductions. Mr. Speaker, the ministry explored and found a way to connect these U.S. suppliers directly with Bermuda's greatest areas of needs through imports, beginning first with our essential good items. In December 2025, the U.S. Consul General confirmed that her colleagues at the U.S. Department of Commerce and the U.S. Department of Agriculture were in support and would host a virtual trade event featuring the Bermuda market, giving American companies a direct platform to learn further about the opportunities. Mr. Speaker, subsequently on March 3rd, 2026, the U.S. Department of Agriculture hosted a virtual trade event with more than 60 U.S. businesses registered to participate. These businesses offered a mix of services ranging from supply chain warehousing and distribution services for food and beverage and the export of U.S. agricultural products to international markets. Mr. Speaker, the virtual trade event was moderated by Mr. Adam Shanks, Director of the International Trade Administration, U.S. Department of Commerce, and presentations were given by Ms. Catherine Woody, a representative of the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Foreign Agricultural Service and Caribbean Basin Agricultural Trade Office in Miami. Mr. Speaker, the CBATO is the international agency arm of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And Ms. Woody shared three main focus areas that support U.S. businesses exporting food and agricultural products. These were providing market intelligence that includes data and analysis of the opportunities for doing business in markets around the world, trade policy advocacy to expand and maintain market access for U.S. food and agricultural products, and trade promotion activities, including foreign market development and export assistance for U.S. companies. Mr. Speaker, during the session, the U.S. Consul General highlighted the strong economic relationship between the U.S. and Bermuda and acknowledged the U.S. as one of our largest trading partners and underscored the desire to maintain such ties. Mr. Speaker, businesses were further informed that the market opportunities in Bermuda through presentations by the Bermuda Business Development Agency and my colleague, the Minister of Economy and Labor. Mr. Speaker, BDA Managing Director Kendry Burgess and Head of Business Development David Parker presented Bermuda's market profile and noted it as one of the highest per capita income markets globally, with currency at parity with the US dollar, a dependable landed goods supply chain, and established trade links across US, Canada, and the UK. They also outlined Bermuda's role as a structured point of connection and the agency's capacity to identify and advance commercially viable opportunities across sectors. The session concluded with presentation from the Minister of Economy and Labor, offering U.S. businesses a comprehensive overview of Bermuda's economic landscape and opportunities. Mr. Speaker, during the forum, I was pleased to share the objectives of the ministry and the Affordable Bermuda Agenda and my desire to act on what wholesalers and retailers had told us, that they needed new international supply partners to diversify the import market and bring down costs for Bermudian households. We outlined the logistics case for Bermuda, including direct container shipping from the U.S. East Coast and transit times of 2 to 5 days from New York, New Jersey, and Florida. Also underscored during the presentation that we were supported by reputable port agents, cold chain infrastructure for perishables, less than container load options, and well-defined customs clearance processes. Mr. Speaker, together, the Bermuda team shared that Bermuda is open for business. Mr. Speaker, but the ministry did not stop at the virtual forum. Yesterday, representatives from the USDA and FAS, who assisted in facilitating the virtual forum, came and visited the island to engage directly with the local businesses and regulators of the import sector. They heard firsthand the challenges that the ministry had shared with them and further committed to future engagements to remove barriers for suppliers. As a result of the facilitated engagement, invitations to upcoming trade events free of charge was offered to Bermuda's market participants. Mr. Speaker, the ministry accepted its role in project managing and facilitating new relationships in aid of our mandate to address costs. We affirm the road to systematically address cost in Bermuda, and we also accept that it will not happen overnight, but we are resourceful and we are holding an unwavering focus to deliver. We are modernizing our import processes, seeking to strengthen local competition and removing the barriers that have kept new suppliers away. In short, Mr. Speaker, we took concerns raised by the public and the private sector identified the challenges, and this government has built a bridge. Mr. Speaker, the response from the U.S. businesses participating in the virtual trade event was notably positive and constructive. The ministry believes that change is possible and affordability can be a reality. The Affordable Bermuda Agenda evidences a roadmap of how the government ministries can actualize through collaboration alongside stakeholder partners to deliver meaningful engagements. The forum and recent events and recent visit anchored the value of the work that the ministry is doing on behalf of the people of Bermuda. We are affirmed in our direction and no longer will accept the narratives that tell us that our size makes us powerless and unable to evolve. Brick by brick, Mr. Speaker, we are building the Bermuda that future generations will thank us for rebuilding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement this morning is in the name of the Minister of Economy and Labor. Minister.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Morning.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to continue reporting on Bermuda's Economic Development Strategy 2023 to 2027. Following my previous report on Strategic Priority 1, Local and International Business Retention and Expansion, today I will speak on Strategic Priority 2, Business Attraction and Investment Promotion. Mr. Speaker, Strategic Priority 2 focuses on consistent, credible investment promotion and a smoother investor journey, supported by modern tools and fit-for-purpose policy. Over the period, the BDA has improved how Bermuda is presented internationally by updating sector-specific marketing material, developing pitch decks specific to priority industries, and progressing a redesigned website to make information easier to access. Public and private partners have also aligned messaging across investor engagement, supported by additional public relations capacity to extend reach and improve consistency. To improve conversation and retention, the BDA is strengthening investor aftercare and building a directory of specialist service providers to enhance engagement in key jurisdictions. Taken together, these steps help ensure that contacts made in missions and conferences remain active and that Bermuda remains top of mind with decision makers. Alongside stronger promotion, the BDA has focused on practical factors that investors weigh in choosing where to locate. The work undertaken so far includes identifying and, importantly, affecting regulatory and policy improvements, including amendments to legislation related to benefits entities and trusts, driven by opportunities identified through industry working groups. The BDA has also boosted stakeholder engagement and advanced changes that support innovation and the ease of doing business. These includes launching the Leadership Exchange, a new forum that intends to enhance engagement between the agency and the business leaders that it works with. Indeed, a practical part of Strategic Priority 2 is using the credibility of firms already operating in Bermuda by engaging them as ambassadors in priority markets. These include partnering with established networks and having industry representatives join the BDA on missions and conferences overseas. Mr. Speaker, because modern investment promotion requires better use of technology to identify and pursue prospects, the BDA is rolling out leading sourcing technology and sector analysis. This is done in order to identify high-value prospects in target jurisdictions and make outreach more data-driven over time. Once an investor chooses Bermuda, the experience that they have next can determine whether they stay or reinvest, expand, and advocate for Bermuda, or whether they disengage. That is why Strategic Priority 2 also includes supporting a stronger investor experience by improving customer relationship management and structured follow-up. This is also one reason why, over the period, the BDA has held engagement sessions with those holding an economic investment and residential certificate, as it is sought to sustain relationships and encourage reinvestment. Another important growth area is high net worth services and private client ecosystem. Work continues on targeted promotions and relationship building with the professional intermediaries who drive this business. supported by public relations, thought leadership, and direct engagement with certificate holders, alongside communication on recent legislation improvements affecting beneficial ownership and trust. We are also targeting the professional channels through which this business is won and grown. Examples are law firms, private client advisors, accounting firms, and investment management firms. These serve to deepen relationship between on island firms and their international counterparts in key markets and to advance private wealth roundtables to expand Bermuda's presence and influence. This purpose, targeted promotion, is designed to grow relationships where design makers are concentrated and where Bermuda's strengths are most relevant. Mr. Speaker, in summary, strategic priority 2 is strengthening how Bermuda promotes investment by improving messaging, tools, relationship, and investor experience, while keeping policy and legislation aligned with opportunity and reputation. This concludes my update on strategic priority 2 of the economic development strategy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, the next statement this morning is from the Minister of Cabinet, of the Cabinet Office. Minister?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, listening audience. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to inform this honorable House of the proactive steps being taken by the Department of Planning to address the current backlog of building permit applications. Ensuring that construction in Bermuda meets the highest safety standards and adheres to our building code is a vital function of the government. Mr. Speaker, has detailed in the budget brief, the building permit team processed 640 building permits and 323 permit revisions last year. However, the department is currently receiving a significant volume of applications exceeding 1,200 annually. This demand, coupled with an increasingly inconsistent application submissions that often require multiple resubmissions, have contributed to the delay that frustrates both industry professionals and individual applicants. While local consultants contracted to aid the overburdened staff have provided some temporary relief, the department must avoid potential conflicts of interest that arise when local firms review their competitors' work. Mr. Speaker, to resolve this in an impartial and efficient manner, the department has engaged the services of Safe Built LLC, an experienced overseas professional services firm. Following through research, Safe Built has been contracted for a short period on a cost not to exceed $60,000 with an option to engage them on an ad hoc basis as needed. Safe Built is uniquely qualified for this role because of their technical expertise. Founded in 1992, they employ approximately 1,700 professionals across 40 states, including engineers and architects. System compatibility. They are highly proficient in the InterGov, the same file management system and customer self-service portal used by the Department of Planning. And impartiality. As an overseas firm, they provide independent technical capacity without risk of local competitive influence. Mr. Speaker, I wish to assure this honorable House and the public regarding the parameters of this engagement. The authority remains local. The Department of Planning remains the sole statutory decision-making authority under the Buildings Act 1988. Safe Built will provide technical reviews, but final approval or rejection of permits remains the responsibility of the building officials here in Bermuda. Protecting local jobs. This engagement is a supplemental measure to tackle a specific backlog. No current staff positions will be impacted. Mr. Speaker, this initiative is a short-term, targeted solution designed to stimulate the construction activity essential to our economy. By leveraging advanced electronic workflows and additional technical resources, we aim to restore reasonable permit timelines and strengthen public confidence in the permitting process. Mr. Speaker, Safe Built began their work on February 17th. On those 3 weeks since, they have processed 41 applications. Their average processing time from the date assigned to the date of permit issuance is 6.4 days overall. That pace has decreased steadily as they learn the specifics of the Bermuda context. In the past 7 days, the pace has decreased to about 5 days per application, with some being processed in as little as 2 days. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to providing further updates as the work progresses and applaud the team of planning for taking these bold and creative steps to make real progress in the challenges to the department. By investing in the professional services of Safe Built, we are providing the department with the extra help they need to eliminate the current permit queues. This means shorter wait times for every resident and developer on island. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Members, that brings us to a close of the statements for this morning. We move on. The next item is reports of committees. There are none. The next item on that is the Premier's questions. Members, as you know, the second Friday of any month that we're sitting, there's always Premier's questions ahead of the regular questions. And for the Premier's questions, we have a 30-minute period, and we will begin now. The first question is from the opposition leader. Opposition leader, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to colleagues and to the listening public. Honorable Premier, your government promised that casino gaming would diversify Bermuda's economy and support tourism. Yet after nearly a decade, there is still not a single casino operating in Bermuda. You recently stated there is no appetite from the private sector to move the industry forward. Will the Premier now admit that the government's gaming policy has failed? Yes or no?
Premier?
First, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to welcome the Honorable Opposition Leader clearly to his place. I see that he's now tried to improve the standard of questioning, and I'm pleased on that. Let me answer the question. The policy, he's first of all mischaracterizing what I said. What I said is that the current casinos, which are licensed, the volume of those are not enough for the private sector to provide banking services. That is the reality of the situation. That is what has been stated. The government cannot bank the proceeds of gaming. Banks must proceed the proceeds of gaming. This has not been an issue that has been unknown. This has been an issue that has been since the inception of gaming in 2014 and the legislation passed in the former government. That much being said, we are at least in a positive place where banks are willing to bank the proceeds of gaming. The question is the volume which is required. And unfortunately, the only casino that is currently licensed for operation does not have the volume that the private sector is willing to support. So when there is a future opportunity for more casinos to come online, then we are hopeful. But this is just a practical reality where we find ourselves.
Supplementary or new question?
Supplementary,
Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker. So with the Premier's answer, considering that there have been multiple announcements that we would see major developments from hotels, can the Premier explain why those promises were repeatedly made if the industry was never actually viable?
Premier?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure what promises the honorable member is referring to. Let me state this again for the record. In 2014, the gaming legislation was passed in the former government. The gaming issues and banking issues have long preceded what the fact of which we've done. So if we want to talk about the introduction of a Casino Gaming Act without having the requisite things in place, I got it. But what we've tried to do is to make sure that we remain focused on trying to advance these particular matters as it is important. Now, I will say for the honorable member, and I hope that he would listen. We had casinos and pledges from banks that they would bank the proceeds of gaming. That was the reason why we made those particular announcements at that point in time. As has been stated in this House, the particular bank who did say that they were going to bank the proceeds of gaming went back and said they were no longer willing to do this due to the actions which took place underneath the former U.S. administration, where there was increased scrutiny on matters related to correspondent banking relationships. That was their decision. We now have a new administration in Washington, D.C., who has removed some of the challenges that were posed towards correspondent banking based on reputational damage on both the domestic side and also on the international side. So that has removed the impediment for banks doing it and risking their correspondent banking relationships. But that has not gone on the other side insofar as whether or not it makes business sense for them to be able to balance, because if they are going to implement such particular items, they have to form entire departments inside of their bank to manage the compliance risk, etc., because Gaming is a high-risk matter. So as I said, it is the volume. We continue to work through this. We cannot speak for what the private sector can and cannot do, but what we are doing is making sure that we provide the requisite support for it to happen. So with our communications with the Office of the Control of the Currency in the United States and others, we know that there is not a correspondent banking risk anymore. Now we just need to make sure that we have the local demand so that those particular matters can get up and running.
Thank you. Second sub, a new question.
Second sub, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, with all the legislation and the regulatory bodies that have been put in place and the millions that have been spent, can the Honorable Premier let us know who he thinks now should be held accountable for us not having an operating casino in Bermuda?
Mr. Speaker, if the government is to be held accountable, then the government will open its own casino. But with the private sector are the people who are doing this. This is the reality. So I'll try for the honorable member again. The one casino that has been licensed does not have sufficient demand for the private sector to provide banking services. I do not know how many more times that I can say that for the honorable member to get. Does not have sufficient demand for the private sector to provide services. Therefore, there are additional casinos which are therefore required. It is for the private sector to decide how to advance those relationships. Hamilton Princess, because the banking partner that did say that they were going to provide casino gaming backed away from that, has now, that is their choice and their decision. The Fairmont Southampton has a designated site order. In the future, they may get a casino license, and that may provide the sufficient volume for the private sector to bank the industry. This is a reality of the situation where we are currently, and I hope the honorable member would understand that.
Second question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Premier, fixing public education has been one of the central promises of your government, yet the most recent public school exam results show students performing below international averages. After 9 years in government, does the Premier accept that the education system is not improving fast enough or at all?
Premier.
Mr. Speaker, so the first thing that I would say is that I have students in the public education system, so I can speak very clearly to what takes place there because I visit public schools every day. Now, here is the reality when we come to this. It is very important that we look around these particular measures. The minister released these test results in December as a measure of transparency. They are complex, and it is difficult to make comparisons from a Bermuda perspective to an international perspective. In Bermuda, for Cambridge Checkpoint, sometimes we take the exams earlier than other cohorts do in other schools around the world. That's number one. In other school systems, number one. Number two, in Bermuda, we use the Cambridge Checkpoint as a diagnostic to understand where things are, whereas in other school systems around the world, they are voluntary. People choose which, or school systems choose which students get them. So I understand the desire to use that as a comparator, but it's important that these things are kept in context. Number two, the measures in regards of the additional funding of which we put in place in education, the additional programs which we put in place in education, the various targeted measures. If we look at the various things, for instance, at Harrington Sound, when they were challenged with mathematics and they brought in a special math program, we see math attainment. If we look at the increase in reading attainment that has happened throughout our primary schools because we've had an increased focus on reading, I can state that there are without question positive things that are happening in education. So does anyone want to, have the headlines that we'll see from these particular test scores? But it is important that those particular matters are kept in context. There are good and positive things happening in the public education system. Here's what I can say, Mr. Speaker. Do we have challenges? Absolutely. There is not a single school system across the world that deals in public education that has challenges. But I will remind the honorable member that our public education system is a comprehensive system. We take every single student. We take students who are high flyers. We take students who have learning support. We take students who may have, other types of challenges, Down syndrome, et cetera. We have all autism. We have every single student in our system. And our job is to make sure we care and prepare for those persons who what's it called. And if you look at the recent graduation results, if you look at the success which we're having, the reality is there are positive things that are happening inside of our public education system. This government will not use our students as props, our political tools. We are going to continue to press forward on education reform, strengthening education, making the investments that are required. And that is what we're doing. That is what we're seeing. And that is what we're delivering.
Supplementary or new question?
Supplementary. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the government repeatedly said that education reform would deliver better outcomes for our students. Can the Premier explain why, after years of reform and over $1 billion spent on education, student performances are still below international standards?
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member cannot speak to years below international standards. I just answered that question, how the government of Bermuda uses Cambridge checkpoint examinations, which are different than other systems around the world. I've stated that. I know the honorable member does not listen well, clearly, but that is the statement.
Point of order. Point of order.
Sit down. Premier, we're not going to start the morning with that one.
No problem, Mr. Speaker. I would hope the honorable member would listen to the answers that are given, and rather than reading his prepared questions, to respond to what was stated. The point is, Mr. Speaker, that our system uses Cambridge checkpoint as a diagnostic exam where other systems select who takes the test, and it's used in different formats. So what the honorable member is trying to do is trying to make that comparison, and it is not the correct comparison to make. Again, Mr. Speaker, we are moving through continued matters related to education reform. We are taking the steps to make sure that we get it right. And we all know that reforming a national system is complex, but I have complete confidence in the Minister of Education, the work of which she's doing to continue to progress ahead, the significant investments of which we are continuing to make in education, the significant investments of which we are doing with our teachers to make sure that we provide them additional tools to reduce their burden, the works of which I've spoken about in this House during budget replies and during the budget debate. Speaking about the work of which we're doing in education is what is happening. So the honorable member should take heed and actually take advantage of the information that is shared, because we do not use Cambridge checkpoint in the exact same way as other jurisdictions do. I know it makes for convenient political headlines, but the reality is it is important that we focus on how these are used in this context rather than making an inaccurate comparison, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Second sub or third question?
Second sub, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Premier, after almost a decade, the results that have just come out, the majority of them are under the C level, the actual letter C level. Can the Honorable Premier let us know whether parents should have confidence that the reform that at present is paused is actually going to lead to the results that the Premier and his team have said parents should see?
Mr. Speaker, I can unequivocally answer that question as yes, because transformation is not an endpoint, it is a journey. It is the work of which we continue to do. Yes, we have challenges in our system, just like anyone does. But here's the reality, Mr. Speaker. It is not just the parents. It is not just it's not just the teachers. It is not just the government. It is also the responsibility of parents and others to ensure that the work that is being sent home from their students is being done. That is the reason why, through our additional initiatives through Bermuda Forward, but the Minister of Education is working on to provide additional homework assistance to parents who may not be able to provide that reinforcement at home. These are things of which we are doing because it is important. But I can state this: I have unequivocal confidence in the public education system. As someone who does not benefit from public education, I have unequivocal confidence in the public education system because I see it every day. I see the homework that is brought home from my daughter. I see the additional enrichment activities that she gets to do. I see the work that is being done for my son. I see the success that we see throughout the school system. I see the work that is happening in co-curricular activities and others. There is significant work that is happening. Do we have challenges? Absolutely. There is no public education system that is comprehensive that does not have challenges, but that does not state that the government does not either make the investments which are necessary and required or continue to provide the support which is necessary and required. But the important point is, Mr. Speaker, rather than trying to battle here with political points, I think it would be helpful for the opposition to join in the mission of making sure that we speak to parents as well, that they have a responsibility to help to support teachers and others in dealing with matters inside of our school system as well. And it is good to see that more parents are coming on board, and I think it will be helpful that we all speak with one voice on that particular issue.
Thank you. Third question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Premier, many of our competitors across the Caribbean are reporting record tourism numbers, yet Bermuda's air arrivals remain below pre-pandemic levels. New hotel developments have been limited or extremely slow. After 9 years in government, does the Premier accept that the Bermuda is falling behind its competitors in revitalizing tourism?
Mr. Speaker, I do not accept that, because here's the thing. Remember, we can talk about other jurisdictions being mass tourism destinations. That is not what Bermuda is. We all know that Bermuda is a niche tourism destination. To make comparisons between mass tourism destinations and niche tourism destinations are not correct. Number two, Mr. Speaker, it is important, and I love when the opposition brings this up. You know the reason why? Because, and I will remind this opposition opposed the expansion of hotel concessions from 10 to 15 years and criticize the expansion that was given to Fairmont Southampton when in their very own St. Regis deal, Mr. Speaker, they offered 20 years of concessions. Yet, when we come back to what we tried to do, Mr. Speaker, they, my opinion, cynically oppose the expansion. When we look at other jurisdictions inside the region who are offering 20 and 25-year concessions, yet we have to not get support of the opposition for the expansion of which we've given. However, Mr. Speaker, that has not deterred us. And what have we seen? We've seen significant expansions in hotels in Bermuda. We recognize that the Fairmont Southampton is set to open this year, which is going to provide additional hotel airlift. But notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the fact that our largest hotel is open, the work that has happened means that visitor spending is still higher without our largest hotel open than it was prior to the pandemic, Mr. Speaker. That is a true measure of investment. And when that hotel does open this year, then it will even be higher, Mr. Speaker. So we are confident in the future, and the work that the government is preparing is to make sure that our workforce is ready, that we have adequate labor supply, and we are able to meet our visitor demands and expectations, not only, Mr. Speaker, at the hotel, but also throughout the country. And that is the reason why we've seen significant expansion in tourism investment orders for attractions and other things to make sure that when those new visitors come, the country is ready, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the government has repeatedly talked about the fact that they were going to introduce gaming and that the concessions that were being given were going to be drivers for new tourism growth. Can the Premier explain why all of those drivers have not led to an increase in tourism to pre-pandemic levels, which were already low numbers?
Premier?
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member is again reading his prepared questions and not listening to the answer that I just gave. So I'll try it again, because he just said not prior to pre-pandemic levels. Visitor spending has exceeded pre-pandemic levels, even without, Mr. Speaker, even without the opening of our largest hotel, Mr. Speaker. And so with the reopening of our largest hotel, those matters will increase. Now, here's the thing, Mr. Speaker. They can make as much noise they want, but the facts are the facts. Visitor spending is higher than before the pandemic without the opening of our largest hotel. And when our largest hotel reopens this year, which of course we recognize, Mr. Speaker, the opposition that came from this side on the work that was required to get it done, we will see those numbers improve even more.
Second sub.
Second sub. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, with all other islands, destinations, expanding hotels, increasing flights, and attracting record visitor numbers, what specific action will this government take that will actually increase tourism so that we can reach record numbers?
Mr. Speaker, the fallacy that the opposition is trying to put forward, that this country, which is not a massive tourism and mass tourism economy is going to reach the numbers of the 1980s is foolish. Let's just say this. It's foolish, Mr. Speaker. It is a complete nonsense. Bermuda is different. I don't want to go through the history of tourism, but if the honorable member needs me to go through the history of tourism for him, I can. So no, because the reality is, Mr. Speaker, is that after World War II, there were only two tourism destinations in the world: Hawaii and Bermuda, who had the infrastructure to attract. When other jurisdictions started moving into mass tourism, that is the reason why we've seen a shift inside of our economy. But that does not deter us from doing the work to attract high-value tourists, Mr. Speaker. And so, with the reopening of our largest hotel, with the work that is going to take place at Noble Beach, with the investments that we see in other projects, that is what is going to continue to make sure that we have sufficient tourism demand in this country, Mr. Speaker. But the proof is not whether or not we have record numbers. The proof is whether or not we have record spending. And that is what the government is focused on, attracting high-value tourists, because it's far different than having massive all-inclusive resorts at $200 a night or having niche resorts that you're charging $1,200 a night, Mr. Speaker. There are two different things, and that is the difference of what Bermuda is trying to make sure we put forward. That is the National Tourism Plan that had support from both sides, and that, Mr. Speaker, is what this government is executing, despite the pause that was brought to us with a once-in-a-century pandemic.
All right. The opposition leader is used to his limit of questions. The next MP who has questions this morning is MP Swan. Would you like to put your question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning. Mr. Speaker, the 2026-27 budget included $182 million in capital investment, described as the largest since 2008-2009. Can the Honorable Premier outline where this money is going and how it will benefit Bermudians?
Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank the honorable member for his question. And here's what's important, Mr. Speaker.
Members.
I know they don't want to hear, Mr. Speaker, but I'm going to speak it anyways. Because, Mr. Speaker, $182 million of capital investment is a statement of confidence in this country's future. And the key allocations, of course, because I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, you want to know the answer, and the public wants to know the answer, even if the opposition does not, Mr. Speaker. $26.9 million for the Bermudian Housing Corporation, a record investment on top of years of record investment. $14 million.
Point of order.
Just curious, he's obviously reading the answer. So did he write the question as well? I thought he wasn't allowed to read without your permission, Mr. Speaker.
The member has responses on his knowledge of his
especially if you write the question, Mr. Speaker.
I would assume he's speaking to the knowledge of the ministry. Yeah. Go on.
I want to make sure they're finished, Mr. Speaker, because it's their time that they're wasting, not my own. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've got it. $14 million of investment into Ministerial Education to upgrade public school facilities and invest in new technology. In addition, at Bermuda College, the money to start the Swing Big project in the East, which I'm sure the honorable member is well aware of and is looking forward to. $8.8 million for the expansion of the Tynes Bay Waste Energy Facility, starting that major reformation project, which is redevelopment project, which is something that's important. $6.5 million for roads and dangerous walls. And we see the work that the Minister of Public Works continues to do there. Happy birthday, Minister of Public Works, by the way, and Environment. $3.5 million for new electric buses, complete the transformation of our bus fleet to a fully electric. And of course, Mr. Speaker, $3 million for community improvement projects for MPs inside of this House, but for projects of which they may get approved. So the reality is, Mr. Speaker, that we are continuing our increase in capital investment, and this is just another example of which this government is doing to rebuild this country's infrastructure.
Thank you. Supplementary,
Mr. Speaker, and I declare my interest. I'm one of 4 MPs directly impacted by this question. The Premier mentioned Spring Bridge. I believe it's $9.4 million for Spring Bridge. Can the Honorable Premier advise on the current status of this important project for the East End?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Public Works and Environment advised this Honorable House on March 6th that requests for proposals for replacement of Spring Bridge are expected to be released in the coming weeks. Preparatory road works are already being sequenced along detour routes in St. George's and St. David's area to support construction staging and traffic diversion once the project begins. And the $9.4 million allocation to this budget continues the government's commitment to delivering this critical piece of infrastructure for the people of the East End.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I declare my interest again being the member of parliament for constituency number 2. The Premier mentioned $3 million for community improvement projects. I'd like to thank him for that, Mr. Speaker, but more specifically, concerned about the need for a dock and disrepaired Ferry Reach, a popular camping site out there, Mr. Speaker, and also a possible site for emergency evacuation should an unfortunate occurrence happen out at that now industrial and community-based area. With that type of funding, can the Premier, Honorable Premier, advise how members of this Honorable House can access this pool of funding for improvements in their communities, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I thank the honorable member for their question. And it is important to know that this allocation of the budget is a key step in ensuring that communities benefit. And who will know better than local MPs about what is needed for their particular areas? Unlike the opposition, who branded this as a slush fund, I'm assuming that they will not be making applications then because they don't support it. In
Point of
April, the
order,
Minister of
Mr.
Public
Speaker.
Works and Environment.
The Premier is imputing improper motive by implying that the members on this side are not aware of what is going on in their communities. We just have concerns about how the government will administer these funds in a fair and impartial manner so all communities can be served, regardless of the political
I think
leanings.
what he said was not that you're unaware. He said that you weren't going to avail of the fund because you're opposed to the fund. I think that's what he said. But I think I'd expected you are aware of what's going on in your community today. Go with MP.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, because I got it. They're clearly having a challenge listening, so they could probably talk less and listen more, and then they would actually hear, Mr. Speaker. So that in April, the Minister of Public Works and Environment will be circulating a form for MPs to complete. Clearly, the funding is unlimited, so I'm not entirely certain about the honorable member's specific request for docks, etc. But we want to ensure that local project upgrades, such as upgrades to parks, benches, playgrounds, minor beautification projects, clearing of area to make rooms for more community spaces, whether or not upgrades of fitness equipment, adding fitness equipment to various public parks, all the things that can happen. This budget is a transformational budget, and we're going further than we have to ensure that the budget that is passed by this honorable house will have a meaningful impact in everyday Bermudians from all of the various relief measures of which we've implemented, but also, Mr. Speaker, in the small things that can improve the quality of life in our communities throughout the island.
Thank you. The next member has questions this morning is MP Linda Smith, MP Al Smith. Linda Smith, MP Smith.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to the Honorable Premier and the Honorable House. I'm addressing this question to the Honorable Premier as I believe it's a matter that would be at the center of cabinet discussions and hopefully a priority, given it affects a large capital project and important resources. In November last year, it was announced that the installation of the new asphalt plant would be delayed for 3 months to allow for an independent assessment on whether to sell the land that presently houses the quarry and move the quarry elsewhere. 3 months have passed and we have not heard anything more. Can we expect to hear that a decision has been made and next steps? When can we expect that? And if the decision is made to sell the property, where will the quarry be moved?
First of all, Mr. Speaker, I'd encourage the honorable member to rephrase her question because there has never, ever been a discussion of the sale of government land. And so I would hope the honorable member would rephrase her question because that is not correct, the question of which she's asked.
The Premier has actually just rephrased
it. The question is, it was announced that the quarry, that the receipt of the asphalt plant was being delayed so that there could be an independent assessment of moving the quarry.
Mr. Speaker, let me answer the question. I think the honorable member posed the same question to the minister during the particular debate. What I can inform the member is that that particular study is ongoing, but there has never been a proposal and or consideration to sell government land. It is important to note that there has never been such a consideration, etc. There was proposals that were put forward insofar as the expansion of a project and a possibly leasing of portions of that. The minister will go ahead and review these particular matters and will update the House in due course.
Supplementary?
Yes, I do. The asphalt plant is in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now. And my question is, how much are we incurring in extra costs for its safekeeping there instead of taking possession of the plant as scheduled? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I do not have the precise answer to that question because that would be, of course, of a specific nature insofar as expenses for something that is not done. He may have posed that particular question in the budget debate, but if the honorable member wishes to pose that question very specifically to the Minister of Public Works, I'm certain the Minister of Public Works will answer.
Second supplementary? Second sub? No? Okay. The next member who has questions for the Premier is MP Ducuto. Would you like to put your question?
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. We know that the Honorable Premier was in the Middle East and that the Middle East advisor accompanied him. What are the terms of arrangements with that advisor, such as pay and period of current contract? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Premier?
Mr. Speaker, sorry.
You got 6 seconds. It's going to be quick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yep. Members, that expires the time for the Premier's questions. So thank you for your input on that. We'll now move to the period for the regular question period, which is 60 minutes. And the first, there's one, the Minister of Home Affairs. There's a question for you on your statement this morning. Chief Fay?
Good morning again, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, first of all, to the Minister for her update. Any discussions that we can have with overseas potential partners are always helpful. My first question is, were there any commitments given to the government or wholesale entities within Bermuda for selling goods to Bermuda at a decreased rate as a result of those meetings and virtual conferences? Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the question posed by the Honorable Shadow Minister. These matters are of a commercial nature, and so it would not be appropriate for the government to be intimately involved in the cost and the arrangement that has been secured. But I can say is that there has been an introduction amongst the private sector participants.
Supplementary?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary. I'm not asking for specifics. I'm asking if the minister can confirm whether any commitments have been given to the government or wholesalers, given that they were invited. I think if we're going to be talking about reducing the cost of living, I would hope that the ministry would at least ask questions of those individuals invited to see if commitments were made, to see if these introductions are in fact successful. So perhaps the minister could reconsider. Sorry. Thank you, member. So the question again is, will the minister at least consider gathering data from those individuals in term that attended those conferences as to whether commitments have been made? Again, not looking for specifics of commercial arrangements.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maybe the honorable member seems to suggest that the government would be able to have a commitment amongst private sector participants. The government's role and the ministry's role in particular was to facilitate an introduction, noting that the concerns that the wholesalers and retailers, the private sector, expressed to the government were managing the legislative framework, the policy. That's the government role as a private sector matter that I feel like I've been invited to know more about. But the reality is that they were pleased to be able to have unlocked conversations and access that they ordinarily would not have had and shared to the government that they did not have access to. And so through those introductions and through facilitating new relationships, lower cost is the result.
Supplementary?
No, second question, please,
Second
Mr.
question.
Speaker. Can the minister share whether or not that any specific additional shipping routes were proposed at any of these conferences as a result of the introductions through the various U.S. government departments that she made reference to in her statement? Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The subject and specific details are included in my ministerial statement, spoke to goods, so those who sell goods and those who sell goods both in the U.S. and those who sell goods in Bermuda. Nothing to do with shipping.
Okay. Supplementary or new question?
New question. Mr. Speaker, reference was made in the minister's statement as to specific barriers to trade with Bermuda. Can the minister share if there have been any tangible results or suggestions on how those specific barriers to trade can be removed, and what are they? Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The contents of the ministerial statement spoke to the concerns regarding the resellers and the wholesalers having access to relationships in the U.S. And so that was a barrier that was determined and shared with the government. And the statement sought to clarify a way that the ministry has begun to unlock those barriers through introductions to U.S.-based entities that they ordinarily and have not, and share with the government that they did not have access to.
Yep. Supplementary?
No, that's all. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you. Okay. Members, that brings us to the end of the question period for this morning. We now move on. The next item on it, the order is the congratulatory and obituary speeches. Would any member wish to make a contribution? MP King.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Speaker, members of this honorable House and the listening public. I express condolences to the family of Shirley James, the wife of former Finance Minister Dr. Clarence James. I'll associate the House,
Okay.
who passed earlier this week. So thoughts and prayers from the House to the family. Thank you.
Is there any other okay? You look like you're holding hands on the same mic. You want to share the 3 minutes? Minister Works, you have the 3 minutes.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, being it's a birthday boy, he gets to
Thank
go.
you very much. Yeah, exactly. Mr. Speaker, I'll be very quick. Just wanted to send congratulations and commendation, not to myself, no, to commendation. I had the good fortune of attending the West Pembroke School. I'm going to associate Minister Darrell and the Premier, and I think other colleagues did attend as well. Certainly, yes, Premier's constituency, adjacent to mine. But just wanted to say that I did have the good fortune to attend the event and wanted to send a good congratulations to all of the students, all of the teachers, and all of the parents, and anyone who had any involvement in what I would consider a first-class event. I was certainly entertained, and I appreciated the entire show. Thank you. And I shall associate the entire House. Thank you.
Does any other member wish to make a contribution? MP Darrell? Minister Darrell, rather.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to rise this morning to congratulate a netball team. And I know in the last day of meeting, we did have an extensive debate on sports. So it is only appropriate that I congratulate the Tigers netball team. And they are coached and longtime coach, Mr. Anthony Mouchette, who's a constituent of mine. And I read this morning with delight that they have won the league multiple times in a row, but also with sadness that they said that they will be breaking up after this season. And that has been a powerhouse. I have many former students and a few friends that actually played on that team. And I had the fortunate to be able to go down there a few times and watch those ladies in action. So I want to congratulate them on their league title. I think they're back-to-back champions and multiple championships over the years as well, to a great coach, Mr. Anthony Mouchette. He says that he will be continuing in coaching, but just not with that particular team. Also, congratulations to one of the, I think she's the captain of the national team for netball, Ms. Deborah Evans, and her team, the Storm, who finished second in the league. Anytime you go by Bernard Park, Mr. Speaker, on a Saturday, parking is difficult, but we allow it because, as we say, sport matters. And to see those young ladies from the Pee Wee level all the way up to some very experienced netball players. It is good to see a couple of mates of mine. We had the fortune of playing in the summer league, commercial summer league one time. And, you thought it would be easy just running around and throwing a ball back and forth. But it takes a lot of athletic skill, a lot of ability. And, kudos to what these ladies in the Bermuda Netball Association do. And on another note, we know the national team has gotten back into international play. So we wish them well in their endeavors as they go forward. So just a shout out to female sport in this country. And I'll call it the national female sport of netball. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is any other member? MP Swan, would you like your 3 minutes?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I certainly would like to be associated with the condolences expressed to the family of Miss Shirley James, who I consider a mentor and a dear friend throughout my life at Port Royal. She was the longest serving chairman of the Bermuda government golf course at Port Royal for 20 years. She was the chairman of that golf course, and she also was the deputy chairman of the St. George's Golf Club from 1985 until sometime in the 1990s, where I served as its general manager and golf professional. Ms. James was a very celebrated lady in her own right, as a nurse, also as a artist, but she was a trailblazer as a chairman of the board. She also served as president, I believe, of Mid-Ocean Club as well. And during her tenure, when I used to run golf tournaments for the Bermuda Department of Tourism, she opened up her home. I used to always have cocktails in a Bermuda home, and she says, Kim, I love entertaining you. Our home is your home whenever you have events. So I used to get my caterer to have the events down there in her property in Vermont. And many a visitor coming to this island had been made to feel welcome on our shores because of her. She represented Bermuda in the Kitty Michaels tournament, which still goes on. I think she was one of the early participants in that event, which also takes Bermudian women golfers overseas to participate. In all the events that I organized on behalf of the Bermuda government, I always had a Bermuda component where Bermudians participated alongside with visitors. As I mentioned, she used to host them in her house, but she and the late Terry Brennan were persons I could always count on to interact with these visitors from overseas, be part of the hospitality. That was the part of building relationships that helped make Bermuda a very strong jurisdiction and help build and cement long-term relationships. Many events that we cultivated in the early 80s still continue today, as was the case up at Pompano this weekend. I shift gears to thank the Pompano not only for their 70 years of operation, but also for being a leader in sports tourism. The ladies' professional golf event is taking place. Our final day today is an event that carried on from what I started in the 80s, along with Miss James, who used to play then, and other ladies. So I just wanted to tie in that great event that the Pompano has carried forward, along with other events that they do up there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, MP. Minister, MP, gentleman, jump behind you, MP. And Minister, MP Lister, you have your 3 minutes.
Couldn't get the name out there, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, boy.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I stand this morning. First, I want, on a sad note, would like to send condolences to the family of a constituent of mine, Mr. Elias Rigo of 2nd Avenue in Warwick. When I first was elected or canvassing to be elected in the 2017 election, Mr. Speaker, I came upon Mr. Rigo in his house, and we had a chat, and he asked, "Is Eugene Lister from Somerset your grandpa?" And I said, yes. So he immediately made that connection, and he was able to recall some moments of knowing my grandfather. So it's, that family connection was there, but it's sad to hear that he has passed away. And again, we'd just like to send condolences to his family. Mr. Speaker, on a lighter note, I would like to, last evening, I had the privilege, along with the Minister of Housing, who's not in at the moment, and also the Minister of Education, we attended the Science Fair at Bermuda Institute. And Mr. Speaker,
First of all, it was a well-attended science fair, some great projects, but it took me back to my time as an alumni of Bermuda Institute and remembering when I did a science fair back then and seeing how far they have come along, because what the theme was this year was inventions over the years. So what they did was, if you were doing a science from the telephone, from the original invention of the telephone to where we have nowadays, or the computer or bikes and things like that. So it showed how inventions had transformed and gotten better over the years. So I thought it was very interesting. But what really stood out to me, Mr. Speaker, is that one exhibit, which I had to ask one of the teachers, they had a gas mask that was used in one of the world wars. And then they had an old helmet, a diving helmet that you use, and a bedpan that back in the old days they used to heat up to put on the beds. So I was inquisitive. I asked the teacher, the students didn't make these exhibits. She said, no, persons in the community, when they found out what was happening, they actually donated some of these exhibits to be on display. So I was surprised to see that there was even mobilettes from 60, 70 years ago that people donated to be on display. So I want to give kudos to the teachers and the students of this science fair. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, I will declare my interest. I'd like to recognize my wife, Mrs. Elisa Lister, who earlier this week, she was recognized as a Condé Nast top travel specialist for the second year in a row. She won it last year and associated to her house. Mr. Speaker, she's selected by the magazine as one of the world's most trusted experts for designing exceptional travel experiences. And at present, she's the only Bermudian to hold that title. So I'd like to again say congratulations to my wife on being acknowledged by Condé Nast as a top travel specialist.
Thank you. Minister Remain, would you like your 3 minutes?
Yes, thank you,
You're
Mr.
right
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like for the House to send congratulations to Reverend Dr. Wendell Christopher, who retired from St. Philip's AME Church as my pastor, and I associate the Premier, I associate the whole House with these comments, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Reverend Christopher left Bermuda Shores in the 60s and was known as, according to him, as he told me, was known as the triple threat, as he pastored in Maryland, Virginia, and the DC area, known as a triple threat because he could preach, he could sing, and he could pray with conviction that could move a mountain. And 22, Mr. Speaker, Reverend Christopher did return to our shores and took up as the Reverend at my church, that little church by the Sound, St. Philip AME Church down in Devil's Hill. He preached with conviction, again, brought that double threat to our congregation. And I worked particularly close with him over these last few months as we did his last Men's Day celebration at St. Philip. And so we had some events put on, and I was the chairman of those events. And so I was honored that he actually asked me to chair those. And so we did have a good time and had a really, really excellent time working with him and the men of St. Philip. So I just wanted to say congratulations to him and wish him well in his retirement, and just thank him for showing up when he is needed. He's always known as compassionate. He's always known as someone who can, really raise the spirit when things are not looking as good as you would like for them to look. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to congratulate him in his well-earned retirement as he takes off after some 60-odd years of pastoring in the AME faith, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yeah. Does any other member, MP Deal?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning to you and our listening audience. I'd like to take this opportunity this morning to stand and congratulate the Sands Parish Council, and I associate MP Lister, Simmons, and all of the House. They did an outstanding job last night, as you can agree, as you were present. They had what was called Sands Speaks, and it was a time of discussion, real talk, real stories, real community. And I just want to congratulate them from beginning to end. They set the atmosphere, invited the community in, and they had two very powerful discussions on the cost of living and antisocial behavior in the community. I was especially impressed by the young men that were a part of the antisocial discussion. Their candidness as they shared their journey, a few of them who had been formerly incarcerated, and spoke about the things that it had taken to help them to make a change in their lives, and the commitment that they have made to go out in the community and inspire others to make positive changes and make choices that will avail them of success. So I just want to thank once again the Sands Parish Council for the work that they are doing, and to the community, the Sands community, for supporting them. Thank you.
MP Simmons, you have your 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning, Bermuda. I'm rise today to congratulate the new student principal of Dalton E. Tucker Primary, Ms. Capri Smith. For the second year in a row, Dalton E. Tucker Primary, in an effort to help educate the children about the electoral process, have had student principal elections. Last year, the honorable member from Constituency 32 and I had the opportunity to be there for most of the day and enjoy the proceedings. And it was an exciting thing to watch, because you have young people taking a big risk to get up in front of their colleagues and put their name out there to be considered, to have to speak in front of your colleagues and have to be considered. And that is something that is very, very brave, very bold, and very, very important for all of us to see in our young people. I commend all of the participants. There were 4 other candidates. Ms. Smith got 61% of the vote, almost Jamal Simmons numbers, but they can work on it. But I'm very honored and pleased to be able to see this process, and I wish Ms. Capri Smith all the best, and all those who vied against her to keep persevering. The first time is not always the best time, but better days are ahead. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Any other member wish to make a contribution at this time? None? Opposite, Government Whip, are you rising to give a contribution?
Not all. Jarian's still there.
Thank you. Thank you. A lady's help. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Speaker, and colleagues in the radio listening audience. Mr. Speaker, I rise with sadness to have to express condolences to 3 families. 2 of them are from my constituency, and another one is my friend, but I'll go through them individually. The first one is Mr. Philip Charles Smith, a constituent of mine of Carver Heights in Warwick. He was commonly known as just P. He was a very simple-minded sort of person. Not so much simple-minded, but a simple living person, if I could use that term. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. And he was from the earth, if I could also use that term. So I certainly want to express condolences to his wife Gina, a very lovely young lady herself, and I know P will be missed, and I want to associate MP Bean on that one as well, because I believe he was actually from Bayless Bay, so I'm sure that's where you know him from. Mr. Speaker, the second one is another constituent of mine, Mr. Sheldon Darrell, a very known, popular person in the Warwick area, and I certainly want to express condolences to his sister, who I certainly know looked after him in his latter years. And he also will be missed as well. The third family that I wish to express condolences for is not a member of my constituent, but a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, Mr. Dennis Borers, who passed recently. Dennis was what I would describe as a real friend and a master craftsman. He knew how to do things. He's made a couple of things for me in my house, so I know the quality of work that he does, and I certainly want to express condolences to his wife Cheryl and the rest of the family. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Does any other member wish to make a contribution at this time? None other. Before we move on, I'd just like to add my remarks to some that expressed already, and Government Whip, your last condolences to the Boris family. I'd like to be associated with that. That I've known Mr. Boris and his wife for many years. They do live in the West End these days, so thank you for recognizing them. And I'd also like to ask the House to send condolences to the Parent Chief family on the loss of their mother, Ms. Gladys Parent Chief, who is actually being funeralized right now as we sit here this morning. She leaves her daughter, Dalma, and her daughters, Dalma and Sherilyn, who was a classmate of mine in primary school. So I've known the family for a long, long time, and my condolences have already expressed to them personally, but I'd just like to acknowledge it here as I'm not able to attend the funeral, being I'm sitting here with you all this morning. Thank you. We'll now move on. The next item on the order paper this morning is matters of privilege. There are none. Matters of personal explanations. There are none. Notice of motions for the adjournment of the House on matters of urgent public interest, importance. There are none. Introduction of bills. There are none. Notice of motions. There are none. That now brings us to the reason we're here today. In the main is to deal with the resumption of the in committee of supply for the consideration of the estimates of revenues and expenditures for the year 2026 and 2027. For the listening audience, again, whenever we are doing the budget debate, it's done in the in committee rather than the House, and there are 8 hours allotted for that, and those 8 hours are split between whichever ministries are being debated. Today, we have the first 5 of those 8 hours will be the Ministry of National Security, and the remaining 3 will be for the Ministry of Housing and Municipalities. Once we're in committee, the speaker is out of the chambers for that period of time, and the House will be in the hands of a panel of chairs and led by the Deputy Speaker. And this morning, the first person in the chair this morning will be the Deputy Speaker. We'll now call on the Premier to move us into committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the Honorable House to now resume in Committee of Supply to consider the estimates of revenue expenditure for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Are there any objections to that? There are none. Deputy?
Good morning, members. We are now in Committee of Supply to consider the revenues and expenditure for the year 2026-2027. And currently, we will be considering the heads that fall under the Ministry of National Security, heads 83, 6, 7, 12, 45, and 88. And I call on the respective minister to begin.
Yes, I'm here, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, good morning. I move the following heads. Heads 83, Ministry of National Security, Headquarters. Head 6, which is Defense. Head 7, which is the Police. Head 12, which is Customs. 45 is Fire Services, and 88 is National Drug Control, be now taken under consideration.
Members, it has been moved that heads 83, 6, 7, 12, 45, and 88 be considered. Are there any objections to that? There are none. Minister?
As we get started, Madam, can you inform the public how long this debate will be?
I certainly can, Minister. This debate has been scheduled for 5 hours, and so I'm expecting a very robust debate, Minister.
Madam Chair, that you must. It gives me great pleasure to present the budget for Head 83, the Ministry of National Security, found on pages B264 to B267 of the budget book. Madam Chair, the mandate of the Ministry of National Security is working together to keep you safe. Working together to keep you safe. So, Madam Chair, a total of $5,315,000 has been allocated for this head, which represents an increase of $349,173 from the previous year and constitutes 4% of the original budget allocated for the ministry as a whole. The increase reflects the funding required for various resources, projects, and initiatives the department will be implementing, such as the legal fees for the Police Complaints Authority, cybersecurity training, software management system, and further work on the ITU Operations Center and the disaster risk reduction and mitigation tabletop exercises. The department will also be filling 3 posts to provide critical resources in cybersecurity and disaster risk reduction and mitigation. Further details are provided in the business unit cost analysis. Madam Chair, on page B265 of the general summary, you will note that there are 4 business units within the ministry headquarters. You will note that the Parole Board and the Treatment of Offenders Board are listed, but this is for comparative reasons only, as they both were transferred to the Ministry of Justice in 2024. The estimate for business unit 93,000 for administration is $3,090,000, an increase of $293,000, or 10%. This comprises of an increase of $155,534 towards salary increases, salary for the political aid, and the salary differential for staff transferring in from another post. $80,000 is allocated towards the legal fees for the Police Complaints Authority, and $57,460 and $456 to cover training tabletop exercises.
It was an errata for national.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the estimate for business unit 93,004 for the Police Complaints Authority is $32,000, an increase of $1,000 or 3% to cover website maintenance costs. Straight?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The estimate for business unit 93,007 for disaster risk reduction and mitigation team is $756,000, a $334,000 or 79% increase over the 25-26 financial year. The increase is to fund the following: 1 mitigation specialist post for $106,114, $12,152 to cover salary and salary grade increases, $19,859 for conferences and tabletop exercises, and $195,875 for software to enhance disaster tracking and alert software. Madam Chair, Business Unit 93,008 relates to the Gang Violence Reduction Program with an estimate for the financial year 2026-2027 of $1,437,000. This represents a $279,000 or 16% decrease over the financial year 2025-2026. The decrease is a result of the net effect of an increase of $140,153 towards staffing, dedicated funding towards grants of $150,000, a decrease of $30,000 towards safe house and relocation fees, and a decrease of $539,153 from marketing, education bursaries, redemption, and summer placement programs. A subjective analysis. Madam Chair, the subjective analysis of current account estimates of the Ministry of National Security is found on page B266. I will highlight the material object code increases and decreases. Salaries increased by $3,000. This is attributable to the net effect of the salary increases and the decrease in funding for the relief administrator post. Training increased by $55,000. to accommodate increased cybersecurity training for tabletop exercises and anti-money laundering. Travel expenses are decreased by $3,000 as the ministry aims to take strategic advantage of online events. There's an uplift of $20,000 for communications to increase the ministry's anti-violence awareness messaging. A decrease of $267,000 for professional services is the net effect of an increase of $67,368. Towards cybersecurity assessments, a decrease of $25,000 in respect of part-time teachers for the Uniform Services Program, who will no longer be required due to a restructure of the program development, and a decrease of $173,332 in the gang violence reduction team, reflecting a reprioritization of resources to support the continued development and maturation of the National Violence Reduction Strategy. Finally, Madam Chair, other expenses increased by $550,000. This is largely due to the increased funding as follows: $230,000 for cybersecurity subscriptions and the ITU Operations Center, $200,000 for disaster tracking software and emergency alert system license fees, and $120,000 towards critical anti-money laundering training and additional resources required for the preparation for the mutual evaluation. Capital expenditure. Madam Chair, as shown on page C14, the ministry received $1,265,000 for capital acquisitions. $15,000 will be used to purchase satellite phones for emergency situations. The Public Safety Radio Network project requires upgrades and repairs, and a budget of $177,782 has been allocated. Madam Chair, the ministry continues to advance the island-wide CCTV network as part of its public safety strategy. The initial project, comprising of 130 camera sites, was completed in May 2025, with work now progressing on network expansion of 31 camera sites. In the 2026-2027 fiscal year, funding will support the completion of outstanding contractual items and the integration of supporting infrastructure to ensure the system operates as a fully integrated public safety asset. Madam Chair, the ministry has commenced preparatory works for the implementation of the automated speed and license plate recognition, or LPR as it's commonly known, camera enforcement system to strengthen road safety, including civil engineering works, the supply of poles, and installation of roadside infrastructure to support the speeding and LPR camera deployments. In the 2026-2027 fiscal year, the ministry will continue advancing the technical, legislative, and operational requirements necessary for the system's full deployment. Funding of $1,072,218 has been allocated to CCTV and the automated speed and license plate recognition camera enforcement system projects. Madam Chair, as shown on page B266, the department's decrease in one full-time equivalent reflects the decreased need of a relief post due to a vacant administrative post being filled. Performance measures by business unit. Madam Chair, I'm pleased to report the outcomes of the department's forecasted performance measures for fiscal year 2025-2026. These are found on page B267. Business Unit 93,000, Title Administration. Madam Chair, this business unit is responsible for providing support to the departments in the form of policy development, project management, financial oversight, and cybersecurity governance. The cybersecurity team manages the development and implementation of critical safety policies, The ministry will conduct recruitment for 3 posts to strengthen national defense efforts. The National Cybersecurity Unit is scheduled to complete several key strategic milestones during the current fiscal year. The Critical National Information Infrastructure designation and the Critical National Information Infrastructure regulations are expected to be finalized and presented shortly. The National Cybersecurity Unit website will reach full completion to enhance public accessibility and digital communication. The National Cybersecurity Unit will implement the first version of the threat intelligence platform to provide proactive defense against emerging risk. The ministry finalized the updated Information Systems Risk Management Program policy, which is now progressing through the established review and approval process, including consideration by the Cabinet Cybersecurity Committee and approval by the head of the public service. The ministry conducted monthly meetings, both in a formal and informal setting, with its heads of departments and DEOD manager. The formal meetings were held to provide heads of departments with pertinent information that included updates from the public service executive, updates on the status of cabinet memoranda, DEOD updates primarily around recruitment and the status of the exercises, financial updates relating to budget, year-end, and procurement. In addition, the department heads provided updates on the major activities in their respective departments. The informal meetings were designed to encourage an exchange of ideas and brainstorming in a relaxed setting on any topic. Business Unit 93,007, Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation. Madam Chair, the Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation Team is responsible for the oversight of stakeholder disaster recovery plans and the coordination of our agencies before, during, and after national emergencies. To strengthen these efforts, the team is fully funded for the National Disaster Coordinator and the National Events Coordinator positions. Additionally, the department is filling a new mitigation specialist post to provide critical resources for national resilience. Strategic milestones and operational goals. Madam Chair, the Disaster Risk and Reduction Mitigation Team is scheduled to complete several key milestones to enhance Bermuda's operational readiness and legislative framework. National Risk Register. Phase 2 of the National Risk Register is set to be completed in Q2 of the 2026-2027 financial year, delivering a validated national risk profile to inform government-wide planning and budget prioritization. Legislative modernization. The ministry continues to advance legislative modernization in collaboration with policy analysts and legislative drafters to clarify disaster declaration authority and align statutory frameworks with existing executive powers. Public Safety Radio Network. Software modernization has been successfully completed, improving system stability and operational resilience. The ministry will now advance hardware replacement and redundancy enhancements to ensure full communications continuity, especially during high-impact events. Community preparedness and response. Madam Chair, weather monitoring activities continue throughout the Atlantic hurricane season, with the team maintaining active situational awareness and providing timely updates to leadership. The team also contributed to the updating and development of key operational documents, including the EMO procedural guides. Shelter readiness assessments were completed in collaboration with key agencies, further reinforcing Bermuda's emergency posture. Madam Chair, to strengthen operational readiness across government and community partners, the Durham team conducted extensive hurricane season preparedness activities. This includes engagement with government agencies to verify hurricane response inventories, inspections of hardware store supply chains to confirm capacity under disaster scenarios, and consultations with telecommunications infrastructure managers to identify vulnerabilities and strengthen response plans. The team also worked directly with stakeholders responsible for road clearing and tree cutting operations, ensuring these critical recovery resources were coordinated and prepared. Madam Chair, I need not remind my colleagues that Bermuda faced off against 3 unusually late storms in October 2025 as the active hurricane season had come to a close. Hurricane Humberto and Hurricane Imelda, both Category 2 storms, affected the island at the start of the month within 12 hours of each other. Hurricane Melissa bookended October when it hit Bermuda as a shadow of the storm that decimated the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica. During all of these storms, and the ones that did not reach hurricane strength, the Durham team played a vital role in organizing and coordinating the various agencies in preparing for their arrival, and in the case of Humberto and Imelda, the restoration thereafter. The Durham team once again performed their role with expertise, discipline, and thorough preparation and planning, all of which helped to mitigate the impact of the storms. These weather events reminded us of the value of having a well-trained, well-organized, and knowledgeable Durham team. Their continued efforts bode well for our country in times of disaster, whether natural or man-made. Madam Chair, stakeholder engagement remained a cornerstone of our Durham team operations. The team participated actively in numerous forums, including port security meetings focused on maritime and infrastructure vulnerabilities, supply chain meetings to ensure critical goods continuity during disasters, and public health preparedness meetings aimed at strengthening the health sector's resilience to emergencies. Madam Chair, the Durham team remains at the front line of national safety through active engagement and rapid response. Interagency coordination. The Durham unit will continue structured tabletop exercises alongside the facilitation of MAGIC, that stands for Multi-Agency Gold Incident Command, training to enhance readiness at both operational and executive levels. The tabletop exercises will test mass evacuation procedures for a cruise ship incident, a ferry reach evacuation scenario, a strategic level cyber incident, and an aircraft crash response. Each exercise will assess interagency coordination, decision-making, and emergency plan effectiveness, producing formal after-action reports and improvement plans to enhance national resilience and ensure Bermuda's disaster response framework remains tested and robust. Infrastructure recovery. The team coordinates stakeholders in the rapid repair and restoration of the public safety radio network following incidents such as hurricanes. Hurricanes resilience. Ongoing activities include engagement with government agencies to verify response inventories, analysis of hardware store supply chains, and shelter readiness assessments. Madam Chair, in summary, the disaster risk reduction mitigation teams demonstrated a commitment to national resilience, operational excellence, legislative modernization, stakeholder collaboration, and international best practice alignment. Through disaster preparedness activities, legislative support, stakeholder engagement, operational support, infrastructure maintenance, and strategic research, the team significantly advanced Bermuda's disaster risk reduction objectives and strengthened its national emergency management framework. Business Unit 93,008, a violence reduction team. Madam Chair, the Violence Reduction Team continues to serve as a central pillar of Bermuda's violence prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation efforts under the National Violence Reduction Strategy. The team remains focused on disrupting cycles of violence, strengthening protective factors for young people, and creating structured pathways towards stability, education, and employment. Through early intervention programs, school engagement initiatives, workforce development opportunities, and crisis response services, the Violence Reduction Team continues to deliver measurable outcomes that contribute to community safety and long-term social stability. Madam Chair, early intervention remains a critical component of the team's work. The IM program continues to support the emotional development and behavioral regulation of young boys by strengthening emotional awareness, improving decision-making, and reducing peer conflict within school environments. During fiscal year 25-26, the program engaged 122 boys across 8 primary schools and 1 middle school. 98 structured sessions were delivered between May 2025 and February 2026. Additional supports included 25 crisis support sessions, 22 mediation sessions, and 165 individualized support sessions. Feedback from educators and parents indicates improvements in communication, attitude, and school engagement among participants. The GREAT program, which stands for Gang Resistance Education and Training, continues to engage primary and middle school boys through structured, values-based education designed to strengthen resilience, reinforce positive identity development, and build resistance to gang influence. The program remains an important component of Bermuda's early prevention strategy by reinforcing conflict resolution skills, supporting healthy decision-making, and helping young people navigate negative peer pressure. Madam Chair, the ministry also expanded its community engagement initiatives through the Hype League programs. These initiatives provide safe, structured environments for young people during higher risk evening hours while promoting teamwork, physical activity, and positive social interaction. The Hype League summer program operated through open play at Cedar Bridge Academy from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. over an 8-week period during the summer holiday. The program connected with over 200 youth, with average participation ranging from 30 to 50 young people per session. Activities included indoor football, basketball, and outdoor cricket. School-based Hype League engagement programs were also introduced to strengthen structured activity during the school day. Implemented in 3 schools and delivered 3 days per week, these sessions averaged 20 to 25 students per session and focused on organized sports and supervised engagement during lunch periods. Schools reported improved lunchtime engagement, reduced behavioral disruptions, and increased participation in positive activities. Madam Chair, workforce development remains an important pathway for prevention and rehabilitation. The work placement and mentoring program supported 15 youth participants, with 13 completing 8-week work placements. A total of 120 job coaching sessions were delivered, and 90% of participating business partners reported positive satisfaction with the program. Outcomes included 6 youths receiving extended paid employment, 4 securing jobs following program completion, and 100% of parents reporting positive personal growth among participants. The Redemption Program also continued to provide intensive mentorship and structured life development for young men seeking to redirect their lives. 20 trainees completed the 25-week program, supported by 125 one-on-one sessions and 56 career and personal development sessions. Program outcomes included 8 participants securing employment, 1 participant entering university, and 8 crisis interventions successfully managed. These efforts contributed to improved life skills, behavioral stabilization, and upgraded employability. Madam Chair, street-level outreach and case management services supported 82 young adults between the ages of 18 and 35. Tailored interventions address housing instability, employment barriers, legal challenges, and mental health needs. Services included relocation assistance, prison visits, court advocacy, and interagency collaboration. Community supervision support was also provided to 15 clients engaged in court-ordered community service placements between May 2025 and February 2026. These interventions contributed to improve client stabilization, reduce retaliation risk, and strengthen reintegration pathways. Madam Chair, the Coordinated Crisis Response Team continues to provide immediate support following violent incidents, delivering stabilization services for affected individuals and families. During the reporting period, the team was activated following 36 violent incidents and delivered 125 support sessions, including 48 family safety planning interventions. These efforts contribute to reducing retaliation risk, stabilizing affected families, and building trust within communities. The National Violence Reduction Strategy continues to operate through its established governance framework, including the National Violence Reduction Steering Committee, the Interagency Gang Enforcement Team, and the Interagency Community Response Mechanism. This structure supports coordinated prevention, enforcement, and rehabilitation efforts across government agencies and community partners. Educational and vocational pathways remain a priority under the Empowering Future Initiative. GED grants continue to be issued with partnership with Care Learning Center, alongside expanded collaboration with the Adult Education School. 10 violence reduction teams clients have been supported through educational funding, with 8 currently enrolled and 4 expected to complete their GED during this academic year. Additional initiatives such as the Computer Care Program and Workforce Development Partnerships have further expanded academic engagement and employment readiness opportunities for high-risk youth. Madam Chair, the Stop the Violence campaign continues to serve as a national public awareness initiative designed to challenge harmful norms, promote emotional well-being, and encourage healthier decision-making among young men and boys. The campaign incorporates storytelling, youth engagement, and community dialogue to address the social and emotional drivers of violence. Key campaign initiatives included Truth Be Told, Youth Rise Against Violence, Voices of Young Men, Stories of Loss and Hope, and Mental Awareness for Black Men and Boys. Madam Chair, campaign analytics demonstrate strong public visibility and engagement across multiple digital platforms. Instagram recorded over 211,900 views and approximately 7,800 interactions. Facebook generated nearly 78,800 views, while YouTube content reached over 47,600 views with an audience retention rate of 87.8%. These results reflect growing public engagement with violence prevention, messaging, and continued normalization of conversations around community safety and personal responsibility. Madam Chair, grants provided under the National Violence Reduction Strategy continue to support community-based organizations delivering services for at-risk youth, including trauma-informed care, education and therapeutic programs, and targeted support for violence reduction team clients. These partnerships strengthen community capacity while reinforcing Bermuda's collective response to violence prevention. Our plans for the upcoming year. Madam Chair, during the fiscal year 2026-2027, the Violence Reduction Team will continue to build upon its prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation efforts under the National Violence Reduction Strategy, while introducing several new and expanded initiatives designed to strengthen early intervention, youth engagement, and long-term opportunity pathways. Madam Chair, as we look at the year ahead, the Violence Reduction Team will remain a central pillar in the ongoing delivery of the National Violence Reduction Strategy. As both architects of the strategy and active agents of its delivery, the Violence Reduction Team continues to be a driving force behind Bermuda's efforts to reduce violence and build a safer, more inclusive society. The Violence Reduction Team's work is not theoretical. It is practical, personal, and profoundly impactful. Through education, mentorship, crisis response, and real-life opportunities, the Violence Reduction Team is changing lives, restoring communities, and guiding young people toward hope and purpose. Our next steps reflect a commitment to deepening this impact and expanding the reach of our programs in alignment with the 8 strategic goals of the National Violence Reduction Strategy. Madam Chair, the Violence Reduction Team will, A, continue leading and implementing core violence prevention initiatives in direct alignment with the National Violence Reduction Strategy, serving as key stakeholders across all 3 strategic tiers of the strategy. The Steering Committee, Interagency Gang Enforcement, and Interagency Community Response. B, support community-based prevention and early intervention through grants to sports clubs to provide after-school homework assistance, life skills development, and violence prevention workshops for our young people. Funding youth-centered organizations that offer trauma-informed wraparound support to vulnerable children and families. Expanded counseling services and therapeutic programs to address mental health needs and support emotional healing for people affected by violence or violent incidents. Madam Chair, a key priority will be the continued expansion of structured youth engagement through the Hype League platform. Building on the success of the summer and school-based initiatives, the program will be extended to additional school environments and community spaces, providing increased access to safe recreational activities during high-risk periods. These programs will continue to emphasize teamwork, mentorship, and positive behavioral development while strengthening relationships between youth participants and outreach workers. The ministry will also expand its education and workforce development pathways under the Empowering Futures Initiative. This includes strengthened collaboration with the Adult Education School and additional support for GED completion among Violence Reduction Team clients. In fiscal year 2026-2027, the program will further develop partnerships with workforce development agencies and training providers to increase access to certification programs, technical training opportunities, and structured employment pathways for young adults seeking to transition into stable employment. In addition, Madam Chair, the ministry will advance new initiatives designed to support post-secondary educational opportunities. Work is underway to develop sponsorship pathways through Bermuda College that will allow eligible Violence Reduction Team participants to pursue associate degrees, professional certifications, and vocational training aligned with Bermuda's workforce needs. The ministry also intends to expand targeted public engagement initiatives under the Stop the Violence campaign, Building on the campaign's strong public response, future programming will place greater emphasis on youth-led dialogue, storytelling initiatives, and mental health awareness programs focused on young men and boys. These efforts will continue to challenge harmful social norms while encouraging open conversations around trauma, emotional well-being, and responsible decision-making.
Minister, before you continue, can I just take a second to recognize former member Michael Scott, who's in the gallery. Member, welcome. Thank you, Minister.
Welcome, Mr. Scott. Through these initiatives, the Violence Reduction Team will continue to strengthen Bermuda's violence prevention framework by expanding opportunity pathways, deepening community engagement, and reinforcing early intervention strategies that support safer communities and more positive futures for Bermuda's young people. Madam Chair, that ends my presentation on Head 83, Ministry Headquarters. I shall now present my budget brief for Head 06, Defense.
Thank you. The minister will continue in Committee of Supply for Revenues and Expenditure while he's pulling up his presentation for Head 6, I believe it is. I just wanted the listening public to recognize that we are in the budget debate for the Ministry of National Security. So I welcome the minister when he is ready to continue with his next head. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, found on page B268 to B272 of the estimates of revenue and expenditure. Madam Chair, it gives me great pleasure to present the budget for Head 6, the Department of Defense, found on pages B268 to B272 of our budget book. Our mandate or our mission. Madam Chair, the Royal Bermuda Regiment will generate and sustain a disciplined force to operate in Bermuda waters and on land to ensure Bermuda's safety and security, protect Bermuda's interests, and strengthen Bermuda society. Under the authority of the Defense Act 1965, the Royal Bermuda Regiment's mandate is to be a military force maintaining the necessary levels of personnel, training, and equipment to enable it to protect Bermuda's interests. It conducts its training and operations whilst also acting as a center of excellence for all Bermudians and residents to be able to personally and professionally develop while serving their country. Department objectives. Madam Chair, the department objectives, which can be found on page B268 and B269, are as follows. The effect. The regiment provides an agile and flexible disciplined force to deliver the following effects. Protect Bermuda's people and resources. Support Bermuda's recovery after disaster. Deter illegal activity wherever mobilized. Strengthen supported government agencies and the Bermuda community. Reassure the Bermuda public of the government's ability to respond in a time of need, and engage with the Bermuda public to drive recruitment. Our Coast Guard. In accordance with the Defense Coast Guard Amendment Act of 2018, the regiment shall maintain a standing maritime force to protect and secure Bermuda's territorial waters by way of the provision of search and rescue, a 24-hour search and rescue capability in accordance with international obligations in partnership with other government agencies. Support. Operations in conjunction with and in support of government agencies with maritime responsibilities to include Bermuda Maritime Operations Center, Marine and Ports, Environmental Protection, reference oil spill response and fisheries, Bermuda Police Service, Customs, and Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service. Diving, maintaining underwater search and rescue recovery diving capability. Humanitarian aid, disaster relief. The regiment will provide an organized response to alleviate the results of a man-made or natural catastrophe, the consequences of which put lives and/or livelihoods at risk, and exceeds the responsible agency's ability to cope using its own resources. Force protection. The regiment shall maintain a reserve disciplined force to respond with or without arms during times of emergency to minimize the vulnerability of personnel, facilities, equipment, material, operations, and activities from threats and hazards in order to preserve freedom of action and operational effectiveness. Roles shall include defense of high-value assets, protecting facilities or locations that are essential to Bermuda's operations, public order, management of and effective response to public disorder or rioting. Provost, the use of military police for the security of military estates and personnel. Explosive ordnance disposal. Disposal of unexploded ordnance, conventional munitions, and limited capability for improvised explosive devices jointly with Bermuda Police Service. Fire, in support to the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service to assist in firefighting. Enhancing Bermudian society. The regiment has played a central role developing Bermuda society and shaping Bermudian identity through military service and shall continue to do so through A, the provision of youth engagement and development through the delivery of military and adventurous training by way of the Junior Leaders Program, including a school-based cadet program and junior band, and facilitation of Outward Bound Bermuda. B, the provision of a common military experience for volunteers drawn from across Bermuda's community, providing the opportunity to enhance life and vocational skills, and an appreciation of discipline, leadership, followership, and the need to support civil authorities, thereby becoming better citizens. Ceremonial. The regiment will provide a professional standard military band and corps of drums and accompanying marching troops to conduct national ceremonial and civic events. International assistance. The regiment will engage in training and support with regional partners with a focus on British overseas territories to build joint capacity. The regiment shall be prepared to support overseas operations on a voluntary basis, if deployed, sustained and funded by third parties, and where the regiment operates as a component in a larger operational framework. Expenditure overview. Madam Chair, I now invite your attention to page B270 of our budget book. A total of $11,249,000 has been allocated for this head, which represents an increase of $1,439,000, or 15% from the previous year, and constitutes 8% of the budget allocated for the ministry as a whole. Madam Chair, the total current expenditure is estimated to be $11,249,000 for 2026-2027, and represents an increase of $1,439,000, or approximately 15% higher than the budget of 2025-2026. This change is due primarily to an increase in full-time staff salaries in line with government-wide salary uplifts, part-time wages, transport, travel, and operational expenses, with additional expenditure focused on the Coast Guard, St. David's Substation. This increase will allow the Royal Bermuda Regiment to return to its original full-time equivalent and allow the Royal Bermuda Regiment to support training and operations in accordance with the commanding officer's directives and throwing speech initiatives. Business Unit 16,000. $509,901. Madam Chair, the Finance Cost Center covers the Defense Department, which holds 3 civilian full-time staff and 1 regiment full-time staff, and serves as the accounting function for the Royal Bermuda Regiment. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $509,901, which represents an increase of $152,000, or 42% when compared to the last fiscal year. This is due to the salary uplift and the incorporation of a new post of full-time outward bound instructors in a civilian role. Business Unit 16,005. Recruitment, $167,760. Madam Chair, the Recruitment Cost Center covers the advertising, promotion, and related recruiting expenses. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $168,000, which is an increase of $74,000 or 79% from the 2025-2026 financial year. Contributions to this increase include the introduction of an HR management program to streamline recruitment, costs affiliated with the government career fair, and recruitment costs increasing to account for inflation. Business Unit 16,010, Regimental Headquarters, $6,032,000. Madam Chair, the Regimental Headquarters Cost Center covers all other regiments, full-time equivalents for defense and Head 06. Liabilities such as employee-related expenses and liability insurance for the Marine Fleet, Vehicle Fleet, and public liability. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $6,032,000, which is an increase of $937,000, or 18%, over the 2025-2026 financial year. This increase is to account for an uplift in full-time equivalent salaries, rising insurance costs, and increases to medical costs for our full-time equivalent staff. We have also anticipated the cost for additional housing allowance changes for all full-time equivalents. Business Unit 16,020, Quartermaster, $1,750,048. Madam Chair, the Quartermaster Cost Center covers all the operational and logistical services for the Royal Bermuda Regiment in relation to facilities for land and maritime capabilities. This capability is organized under the Logistics Company. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $1,750,000, which is an increase of $233,000, or 15%, over the 2025-2026 financial year. This is due in large part to the increases in part-time pay and the increases to the cost of purchasing goods and materials, including electricity, gasoline, and rental costs. Business Unit 16,030, Ceremonial, $489,044. Madam Chair, the Ceremonial Cost Center covers the ceremonial and the humanitarian and disaster relief training expenses. These are now organized under Headquarters Company and the orbit changes of February 2025. Headquarters Company now includes the regiment's training and engagement functions, but excludes costs captured by 16,060 and 16,000 cost centers, 16,060 and 16,080. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $489,000, which is an increase of $137,000, or a 39% increase over the 2025-2026 financial year. This is due to an increase in the part-time soldiers' wages and increase in soldier numbers with the new orbit. We have also moved Bounty Pay from Course Center 16,080 business unit as training wing is now under headquarters company. Business unit 16,040 internal security. This is $245,276. Madam Chair, the Internal Security Core Center covers the training expenses related to internal security and military aid to civil authority. These functions are organized and delivered by a company. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $245,000, which is an increase of $10,000 or 4% increase over the 2025-2026 financial year. This increase is exclusively due to the wage increase. Business Unit 16,060, Bermuda Cadet Corps, Junior Leaders, $42,869. Madam Chair, the Bermuda, Madam Chair, the Bermuda Cadet Corps Center covers the training and youth engagement of the Junior Leaders Program. As part of the curriculum, staff of the Royal Bermuda Regiment facilitate adventure training, drill, campcraft, and similar military activities to young Bermudians below the age of military enlistment. The main aim is to enhance the leadership and decision-making skills of school-age cadets in order to make them better citizens. The program runs weekly throughout the school year and incorporates meetings, weekend camps, and an annual exercise. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $43,000, which is the same allocation as the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Business Unit 16.
Minister, just so that you know, we're about 5 minutes before lunch, and you can probably finish those next 3 business units within 5 minutes, you think, or no? You can do the next business unit, of course. You can take us up to 12:30.
Let me do the next business unit.
Yes,
and then you
please.
finish, yeah. Business Unit 16,075, Madam Chair. Overseas Camp, $841,098. Madam Chair, this year, the Overseas Camp will take place in the United Kingdom in May 2026. Since the formation of the unit, the 2-week Overseas Camp has been the culmination of the annual training cycle and remains a mandated requirement by the governor. The exercise provides tangible evidence that the Royal Bermuda Regiment is fit for role and able to operate at the scale and intensity required to complete their missions and tasks. The complexity and range of activities conducted on land and at sea are not possible to achieve within the confines of Bermuda. Therefore, it is essential that the camp is conducted abroad. It is also a primary component in the retention of RBR personnel, as it is engaging and an exciting and impactful opportunity for Bermudians to travel abroad. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $841,000, a decrease of $63,000 or 7% when compared to the 2025-2026 financial year. This decrease is due to a slightly shorter overseas camp, which results in less pay and other expenses. That's it, Madam Chair.
You want to finish there? No, can you? Okay. So we have approximately 3 minutes before lunch. You didn't want to try the next one in 3? Okay, go ahead.
Business Unit 16,080, Training and Validation, $465,000. Madam Chair, the Training and Validation Core Center covers the expenses related to the training of recruits and promotion courses. To ensure our military personnel are current, qualified, and competent, it is essential that the selection and training system provides development and assessment opportunities at all levels for all specialisms. The training and validation budget ensures These courses and qualifications are delivered in a most appropriate and cost-effective way possible, only seeking external instruction when it is not possible through local resources. All routine training exercises subscribe to the UK Armed Forces Recognized Assurance System, the defense system approach to training to ensure safety and consistency. The 2026-2027 budget estimate is $465,000, which is a decrease of $90,000 or 16% from the 2025-2026 fiscal year. This is a result of there being no junior NCO cadre leadership course being run this fiscal year.
And I do believe that this will be a good time to move us to lunch. So, Minister, if you can, could you move us to lunch?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the House adjourn until 2 p.m.
Thank you. It has been moved that the House adjourn till 2 p.m. Are there any objections? There are none. So moved.